Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the special meeting of the Northampton Housing Authority Commission and the subcommittee of the commission in order to interview our candidates for the executive director position. Just wanted to remind folks that, well, I think I'll go into the roll call first anyway.
Yep.
Um, I, Jim, will you do the roll call? I can do the roll call. We don't have a secretary.
Yeah, give it a.
It's no worries.
Hmm.
Um, Hank Abrashkin, can you unmute yourself? No, you can't unmute yourself? Uh-oh. Hank and Joella why are they muted and they
All
can't
right.
unmute?
I'm asking him to unmute. Go ahead, Hank.
He said no.
Ask to unmute. All
Oh,
right.
mine.
Finally, it said the host had to unmute. Finally, Hank, I think you can be unmuted now.
We have two Hanks.
Y-
Why is
Hank,
it
did you
Hank?
come into the meeting on two different devices?
What? Um, why is there always something?
There's always something.
There's always something.
All right,
How?
we're down to one Hank now. All right, I'll ask
Oh,
him to unmute. Hank?
oh, please.
Well, can we
Hank,
keep going? As
Okay,
chair
no,
until,
There he
I think
is.
oh, there he is.
okay, let's start over with roll call. Hank Abrashkin,
present.
Joella,
I'm present.
Ben, Wood,
I'm asking him to unmute now.
There we
There
go.
he goes.
Ben Wood,
Yeah,
Jamie
present.
Nash,
And I am here as well.
and Patty Healy is here as chair. Thank you very much. We are here tonight to interview our four finalists for executive director position. The order of interviews has been previously determined by a random selection. Each of our commissioners and subcommittee members have a question that they've prepared. One question, we will go in alphabetical order. We'll start with, when ready, Hank Abrashkin and end with Ben Wood. We have four people to interview. They each have 30 minutes. I will ask the commissioners to state your question without editorializing. Do not add a follow-up. Remember that you should have just less than 1 minute to give your question, and that allows the candidates to be able to maximize their time to give information. If we go through all of our first round of questions, we can go around again to a second. I do have two questions prepared from residents after our resident interviews. I'm hoping to get to those after Ben Wood. It's still 4:53. Are there any questions? We have a few minutes before we start with the first interview.
I do have one question. Just,
Sure.
just so I understand it. Were the candidates, the remaining candidates, given a idea or giving the questions that we may or may not ask? Because we submitted it to you. So I just want to make sure, are they prepared for the questions, or are we just hitting them with questions that they have to think on their heads and reflect on themselves about what's going on? So I'd like to know a
Yeah.
little bit more about that.
Yes, as I did explain to you earlier in an email, the everyone sent in a question to me only so that I could be sure that we didn't have overlap.
Mhm.
Um, some people did not send in a question, and no questions were given to any candidates. There's been no communication between this body and candidates about this process of interviewing today. When we finish our interviews today, we will have no discussion or deliberation. No opinions can be stated in this public meeting by this body. Between the time of of adjournment in the beginning of the meeting where we will deliberate, people must abide by the open meeting law requirements. And that means that we cannot deliberate or have a quorum of deliberation at any time, either electronic, on telephone, in writing, between now and the time that we begin to deliberate on Thursday. On Thursday, our commissioners, our 5 commissioners will be the only people participating in the meeting, and they will discuss their ideas and about the candidates and make a decision in that meeting, and there will be a formal vote. Residents are welcome to send any information, ideas, their comments, preferences to this commission. And at the end of this interview, I will provide an email for folks to send in information. I think that's
Thank you.
Hank
about
has
it.
a hand raised.
There's a hand raised. Oh,
Hank.
Hank.
Yes, my question is for tonight, who is going to be the timekeeper
For the 30 minutes? For the 30
for,
minutes?
for, as we go for 1 minute?
I will be.
4 minutes, and
I
30
will
minutes?
be. Yes.
And so if anybody goes over their time at any point in the process, you'll let the person know or let us all know?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ben Wood still is unable to unmute himself. And it looks like Brad as well. Jim, are you able to correct
I
that?
will work
Now
on
I
those
can.
things.
Now I can.
Okay.
Let me
And
find Brad.
Brad can't unmute himself.
I'm going to ask Silas to unmute himself.
Might I ask a question, please?
Would you just hold for just a moment so we can
Sure.
figure out why people are not getting unmuted here?
That's your co-host here, Patty, and I'm working on that.
Okay. Then he's working on it. Joella, go ahead, please, Commissioner.
Yes, I want to thank Commissioner Brasson for asking the questions about the timekeeping 30 minutes. Might I suggest that maybe a minute before the 30 minutes that we give some kind of a signal, maybe you can tell the people here, you put a 1 up, like 1 minute, so at least they can finish their thought, because I would hate to cut somebody off mid-sentence, because that's happened to me.
Yes, I'll try to do that. We still have Doug Kierdorf, Tom O'Connor, and Brad is still not unmuted.
Brad is identified as how?
Upside 413.
Okay.
That's
there we
Brad
go.
Gordon. He's our community advisor.
I will find him. There he is.
Great. I think I'm good. I'm going to try to change. I wasn't able to change my name either. I'm going to try to do that now as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And
You
last of
may
all,
have
Tom
blocked
O'Connor.
that.
Jim, would you unmute Tom O'Connor and Doug Kierdorf?
I'm here.
Oh, you are. Okay. And Tom is as well.
Let's get Silas here.
We're not usually hosting these meetings, so it takes us a little time to get through this, but we're still good.
All right. Then. So the folks who are unmuted right now, I'm going to ask that you not turn your microphones off, because that will reset the thing to have me unmute you again. You can turn it off, but we'll have to go through this process if you do.
Okay. Our first candidate will be Andrew Skoog. And is he in the waiting room?
He is. He is.
Oh, you're shaking your head, Brad. And Andrew Skoog just came in, and now, Andrew, can you unmute yourself? You can.
Yes,
Okay.
I think Jim just unmuted me as well.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
for
much.
some reason you
Welcome.
guys keep getting muted. All right.
Welcome, Andrew. My name is Patty Healy. I'm the chair of the commission. And very quickly, people will say their names and get right through. And then we will start with the first question with you.
Sounds good. Thank you, commissioners.
So go right ahead. Start with Jim and then Hank.
Jim Nash.
Hank. Wait.
Hank Abrashkin, member of the commission, Board of Commissioners.
Commissioner Tarbutton.
Hi, my name is Joella. You can call me Jada Tarbutton. I'm a resident board commissioner.
Commissioner Wood.
Hi, Andy. Ben Wood, one of the commissioners.
Brad Gordon.
Hi, Brad Gordon. I serve as the executive director of Upside 413, and I'm a community consultant.
Thank you. And Doug Kierdorf.
Hello, I'm Doug Kierdorf. I'm the head of the LTO at 4 Sander Apartments in Florence.
Thank you so much. Andy, would you like to take maybe 1 or 2 minutes to introduce yourself, and then we will go directly to Hank Abrashkin for the first question.
Sure. Good evening, commissioners. Thank you all for the time today. I appreciate getting onto the second round of interviews here, and the documentation that was also sent to me was helpful. My name is Andy Skoog. Currently, I'm the Deputy Director at Fitchburg Housing Authority. I do apologize if I sound a little nasally. I am just getting over being sick. I have over 14 years of experience in the field of public housing, starting as an intern in the Marlborough Community Development Authority, moving up as a consultant, and then working eventually full-time running their programs before I became the Deputy Director in Fitchburg, where I've been for the last 7 years. I have a lot of experience, and in looking at the minutes that were sent to me, some of the issues that this housing authority is going through are some similar circumstances in other places where I have been that I think that my experience would be helpful. So thank you all for the time.
Thank you, Andy. And Hank, you can go right ahead with your question.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Am I audible? I hope I am.
Yeah,
You
go.
are.
Yes, I can hear you.
Just want to make sure I'm not muted. Here is the where is Andy now? Oh, there he is. Okay.
He's there.
Here's the question, and I've written it down as we all have. So here it goes. Can you provide an example of a situation where you faced a significant organizational challenge that is similar to the challenges facing the Northampton Housing Authority, where you identified a problem, determined a solution, and steered the organization forward?
Yes, one example that I can give is in vacancies. When I moved over to Fitchburg Housing Authority, we had over 90 vacancies, and there was no real system of tracking. Similar to some issues that you all had in your last PMR that was done in 2025, they had provided some operational guidance for reporting systems not being done correctly, as well as data not being entered properly in CHAMP and in HAFIS to record when units are filled. I actually created a system that would help track vacancies that is in line with the state's HAFIS system. And it's designed in such a way that it allows any user basically to look at the list, see all of the active vacancies, figure out even if there's waivers that need to be requested, know whether or not they've been reported in the system, how long they've been vacant for, where's the work order that's tied to it. It basically just helps to streamline the process. And they didn't have anything like that in place. And in reading some of the issues that have come up at Northampton Housing Authority, I think that implementing this system would actually be very beneficial as well.
Thank you, Andy. The next question is from Brad Gordon.
Good evening. My question is as follows. Could you please present your plan, including priorities, for the first 12 months as the Northampton Housing Authority ED, as well as your vision for potential housing and program development over the next 5 years?
Yes, that's a good question. So I noticed that the reserve ratio that you have is significantly higher than what's needed. And I think that that would leave good opportunity in the next 5-year plan to develop some grant funded programs, using that money to leverage and get more funding from the state. Within the first month of being there, I would want to basically see all the properties, assess what I believe the needs are, and compare it to the current capital improvement plan. Right now, the capital improvement plan seems to focus a lot on Hampshire Heights, which is your family housing development. I see there's over $2 million that's being spent on paving and water mitigation. I would try to look and see what other kind of programs that we could use and leveraging the capital that we have to bring even more funding in. That's something we were very successful in my time over in Marlborough and in Fitchburg, was leveraging funds in order to bring more money to help advance more developments, whether that's paving, whether there's elevator improvements. I see that there's a roof replacement that happened at Salvo House this fiscal year. There's a window replacement that's scheduled over at Cahill Apartments. I would kind of just try to assess those needs and where we can make more improvements and deliver better services really at the end of the day to the tenants.
Thank you.
Okay, next would be, oh, sorry, Doug Kierdorf.
Hello, Mr. Scoop. I'm the head of the LTO. I'm a resident. My question is, much of your experience is focused on operations and facilities. What role do resident services, resident engagement, and tenant leadership play in your vision of a successful housing authority? And how would you strengthen communication between management and LTOs?
Thank you for that question. I did see that there is heavy involvement in the tenant community, including you had a special meeting back in April related to the rodenticide that was being used by the pest control company. I think that tenant involvement is key. I mean, it's the reason why the housing authorities exist. If it wasn't for input from the tenants, then we wouldn't have jobs there at the office to do. I think in terms of increasing transparency, I would want to have more meetings with the tenants regularly. I understand there are several tenant organizations. I'd want to know all of them. I'd want to know, who are the key players. I'd want to be able to talk with them, hear what their major concerns were. I know that there was a concern about getting some security cameras requested back in the January meeting. I'm not sure where the administration is on that, but I do take security as a top priority myself. When I came to Fitchburg, that was one of the things that our tenants had complained most consistently every year was about safety and security. And I brought more camera systems on board that can be accessed digitally by tenants, so tenants can see certain areas and feel a little bit more safe. Those cameras also helped me to better investigate whenever there were issues regarding any sort of complaints and verifying that information, passing it along to the police, things like that. But basically, at the end of the day, it's about sitting down and listening to what people have to say. And even if you can't give them a direct answer at that time, at least showing them that you're working towards a solution and that you get back to them. And I'm big on returning phone calls and messages, even if I don't have much of an update at the time, just so that you know that I'm working on something. And then eventually, when I am able to deliver it, then you can see that there's a track record of that.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And
you.
Jim Nash.
Sure. Thanks for being here today, Mr. Scoob. An important aspect of the executive director role is public facing. The NHA executive director interacts with the press, public officials, the board of commissioners, and NHA residents. Could you speak to your experience and skills as a public figure?
Yes, in my position as the deputy director, I have to fill in anytime the executive director is not around. That includes running board meetings, also dealing with public officials, getting phone calls from tenants. I'm no stranger to that, and I certainly know the importance of having a good public face. And that's why like I said earlier, it's important to communicate with people. Even if you don't necessarily have an answer, you want to at least acknowledge that you're getting to the bottom of whatever problem it is that has been brought to their attention. In terms of public events at Fitchburg Housing Authority, I have attended many different public events, including with the mayor's office. Typically, the executive director is the person at Fitchburg Housing Authority that does the PR facing role. So I have not had much direct interaction with that, but I'm not ensconced to having an interview or, going somewhere publicly, being recorded, that's not a problem.
Mhm. Great, thanks. Our next question is from Commissioner Tarbutton Springfield.
Hello, hi. Thanks for being here, and I do appreciate all the background stuff you've already done on our buildings, reading all the minutes. You seem to be really well aware of what's going on. And I had 4 questions, but I can only ask one. So, your experience includes securing and managing large capital improvement projects and construction funding. Northampton Housing Authority has aging properties with ongoing maintenance needs. Elevator down 3 months. How would you balance long-term capital improvements with residents' day-to-day quality of life concerns?
Thank you for the question. The first thing that I would do is listen to what the concerns are and find out whether or not we have any projects that are planned. Something like an elevator being down sounds like it could be funded by emergency funds. There is a way to request emergency funds that don't actually impact the rest of your capital spending when it comes to formula funds or taking it out of your budget directly. It may be something you have to pay up front, but if done correctly, you can get reimbursed for emergency projects. That's something we actually have done quite frequently over in Fitchburg. We had a section of a roof collapse on one of our main buildings that we had to have emergency funding to repair, and it ended up leading to a larger roof and ventilation project over there. Really, it's about follow-up and continuing to push. When you go to the state and you ask them, you point out an issue. If you don't really continue to go to them and say, hey, this is really a big problem and we need to get funding for this or get this addressed, then, they're not going to really know. But the state is a great partner. In that, anytime that you have any major issues, they're going to be there for you with guidance. They're going to be there for you with support. So I would lean on my partners at the state, taking in the different priorities and assessing what could be done immediately, what could be planned, what's already in the plan. And of course, continuing to get the input from the tenants, which I think is very important.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Our next question is from Ben Wood.
Thanks, Daddy. Mr. Scoop, thank you so much for expressing interest in this position and for getting this far. So we've talked a little bit about some more like externally facing aspects of the job in terms of communications and operations, excuse me, and some resident engagement related activities. But I'm sorry, I got something in my throat. Um, I I want to know about your experience with team building and creating a positive and inclusive workplace culture, and importantly, how it is that you would support us as board members in understanding how the how things are going, right? Like how can you demonstrate some accountability to building a positive and good workplace that people actually want to show up and do a good job in?
Thank you for that question. My last interview, I understand, that it was sort of expressed that there's a need for a cultural change, and some steps have already been taken in that direction with a new HR director, a new maintenance director. In terms of building that environment where people want to come to work, it's really about listening to people's needs and making sure that they understand what the common goal is, and then supporting them. And when you give criticism, it needs to be constructive. You can't just say something is bad just because. You need to explain why something isn't working and what changes need to be done. And once you start to build that environment, people will see the benefits of that, and it will sort of shape itself around the direction that you're trying to head.
Mhm. Mhm. Great. Thank you. Um, we're way ahead of schedule here with you, Andy, which is great. So I have I have some resident questions here. We met with residents in 9 different settings. We didn't go out to the like Huntington and that area, but we did meet with the majority of the residents who came to visit with us. And people were asked to submit questions, and we got a few, and I put them together. And one of them is a bit of a follow-up to one of your questions, I think. We talked about the security issue. Let's see where his question is. So you did tell us about addressing the security issues faced by tenants in their residences. One of the several people brought up how you deal with criminal elements that are already in the buildings. Um, when there are folks who are let in and there are many complaints, how do you follow up with residents about that and implement changes?
So the first thing to do is to address, the people who are coming into the building. If they're not residents and they're causing criminal issues, they should be served no trespass notices. That way, if they enter the building, they can then be arrested, unless they're an invited guest directly of a tenant, which then that becomes a problem, of course. And so if that person is seen going to the building and seeing that tenant, we can go to the tenant and say, hey, this person's been trespassed from the building. We do not want them on the property. You remind them of the lease, that the lease obligates them to be responsible for their guests and all of their activities. So they can't say, oh, I didn't know, you let this person in to come see you. You're responsible for their actions. And if they have been served no trespass notice, we can go as far as to say, if you allow this person into the building, then we'll take action against you to do an eviction. I'm not sure how the court system is out in Western Mass, but in Central Mass, we've been pretty successful with our 30-day notices. Most of the strategy that I try to have when it comes to the eviction cases is to actually get an agreement in court, whether it's about behavior or guests or anything like that. That way, if the tenant violates the agreement, there's not really a trial that needs to take place about the facts. It's more about proving the fact they violated the agreement, which is a binding court order once signed by the judge. I also created an eviction tracking spreadsheet up in Fitchburg because unfortunately we do have a high level of evictions, mostly 14-day notices for non-payment. I noticed that your tenant accounts receivable was in good shape in comparison to ours. We every year have corrective action for not being able to collect the rent because we just have our family housing tenants just not paying and we're having to serve eviction notices. But 30-day cases, we have had a lot of those over the years, many of which I've had to be involved in because of the complexity of the complaints, drug use, physical violence, threats, things of that nature. So I'm familiar with how to handle those situations, and I would definitely take advice of legal counsel all throughout, all the steps once we actually get the notice drafted and served.
Mm-hmm. Great, thanks. I might take the opportunity to ask the second question too, which was Northampton as a community has many and events in separate facilities. Would you be a participant in resident run events and engage in evening and weekend? This isn't a requirement of the job, by the way, to have to work on the weekend. But would you be able to see yourself as engaging in attending these events that residents hold?
Yeah, I would try to engage in as many as I could. It would depend on my schedule. I had mentioned during my last interview, I'm a new father. I just had my son born in April. So, things might be a little bit hectic for me in terms of scheduling things on weekends, but I certainly would look at the priority of those events. And I would want to have a good public facing, and I would want to have also some of our employees attend. I think anytime there's after hours events or weekend events that, someone from our maintenance staff and admin staff should be out there just to make sure that everything is going well, that if there are any issues, that it's reported up, things like that. So I would try to as much as I could.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for that. So we still have 12 minutes left, and I was going to pose in order if people wanted to do a follow-up to their question, and in the next 5 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes, and then I'll give Andy a few minutes to sort of wrap up what he's thinking about. Yes, Jim.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that and let's check in with Silas and with Tom if we're going out of our batting order of questions, whether or not um, whether we're okay with that. So I've unmuted Silas, or I've tried to. There we go. And now Tom, and
No comments from
Tom is
Silas?
giving you a thumbs up.
Yeah, no, there's no issues at all here, Jim. None at all.
okay. Okay, great.
You're
Hank,
all
did
good.
did you have a follow-up question, Hank?
Not at this time, no. except to say thank you very much for all the prep that you did for the interview.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And
I
Brent.
do, Penny.
I see
Oh,
Joella's hand.
who said I do? Oh, Ben. All right. Well, Brad was, I'm just going in order. Brad, did you have another follow-up?
No, just again, I appreciate Andy's thoroughness and preparation for the interview. So thank you.
Thank you,
Okay. And
Commissioner.
Doug Kierdorf.
Uh, Hello. Yeah, I just want to say thanks for coming along. If you have a 2-month-old son now, I know you are living in the land of no sleep. So, I'm impressed with how alert you look right now.
And
That's
Thank you.
all.
Commissioner Nash.
Well, sure, since we have so much time. Mr. Skoog, I heard you say you have that the director is usually handling PR, but can you give some examples of like maybe you've talked to the press, maybe you've had to hold a meeting with residents. Can you give some examples of where you've had those types of things?
Sure. I've not had any direct involvement with the press. The executive director is very firm on he controls that aspect of it. I have had tenant organization meetings, several, including after hours. I had to go to the Wallace Tower Tenant Association in our building. It's our high rise downtown. They only meet after hours, and I actually went to one of their meetings after hours to try and figure out there were some issues going on in the building, and those issues weren't really being relayed to management. I couldn't figure out where the breakdown was. I met with them and I found that really there was someone who wasn't going there as regularly as they should have. They felt like they weren't being heard. I talked with my director of public housing. She redirected her staff, made sure more people were seen. They put out complaint forms in the Dropbox, and they were able to then take the complaints that people were making, bring them back to the office. So then people felt like things were being addressed in that regard. Um, I also have had to run the annual plan meetings and capital improvement plan meetings where we go over our 5-year construction plan with the tenants, talking about all of the different construction projects, getting their input, taking notes so that we can then add those into the next annual plan when we do it. So I've had plenty of experience talking in front of crowds. It's just the direct talking with the press is not something I've done, but that's not something I'm afraid to do.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you for that. And Commissioner Tributton?
This is a question I had for everyone if I got a chance to ask it. If selected as executive director, what specific steps would you take during your first 90 days to build trust with residents, staff, commissioners, and community partners? And what would success look like at the end of those 90 days? Not to put you on the spot.
Thanks. That's a good question. I'd say for the first 90 days, I would want to get a grapple on all of the developments, exactly what their construction needs are, our staffing levels, whether or not we need to bring in more. I saw there's several open positions, mostly in maintenance, that need to be filled. Those are top priorities for me. I would want to make sure those are addressed. I would review the collective bargaining agreement as well as speak with the stewards of the union and see where we can get more increased cooperation, whether that's through part-time positions, internships, cooperatives, anything like that. One of the things that we did in Fitchburg was we implemented a swing shift, which allowed us to have somebody working after our regular hours and on weekends, which increased our visibility to the tenants, which was a very positive impact. It showed the tenants that people are pretty much always taking care of the site. I would say grounds and trash removal, the visual aspects of the property would be top priorities of mine to make sure that everything is looking good. And basically within those 90 days, having a meeting with all the different tenant associations, listening to their different problems, cross-referencing whatever needs they have with what's currently planned on capital construction. I would say success at the end of that would be that tenants feel that the new management is actually making a positive impact. And I would say based on their input from the different meetings and local tenant organization meetings that they go to, that would really show where we are at in terms of success.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Commissioner Wood?
Yeah, I guess just kind of to wrap up, Andy, is it okay if I call you Andy?
Yeah, absolutely.
would just love to know what is it that working in public housing all these years and why you want to pursue this opportunity. What is it about this type of work that brings you joy?
You know, I knew nothing about public housing before I got into it back in 2012. It was an internship that I needed to do, basically. That was the reason I got into it. And when I found out what it was and, the impact that it can have on people, it really kind of touched me in a way. Um, to have a lot of different people come to me as applicants, telling me their story, what's going on, looking into it, and me advising basically, this is how you should fill out the application, explaining to them the process. I became passionate about it, and I know that I'm good at it. I know communication is very key in this field, and I feel like I'm a good communicator, a very strong writer as well. Um, and I just feel like I can make an impact. And specifically over in Northampton, I think that, in looking at all these documents that were sent over to me, Northampton is actually in a very good position, all things considered, what has just occurred with the last management. And I think that that's a good opportunity to basically turn everything around in terms of perception with the tenants. And I want to be a part of that. I would like to help contribute to the community. I know it's a faraway community from mine, but Fitchburg was the same when I went up there. And I have grown to love Fitchburg. It's kind of like a second home to me. And unfortunately, it's, I think, maybe time for me to move on somewhere else. And this opportunity came up. And in looking at everything, I think that I would be the right person for this job.
Thanks, Sandy. And this is Patty
Thanks
again.
so much.
Uh, do you, the job of executive director is a Monday through Friday, 37 and a half hours a week. The leeway in determining how to do those hours. Do you see yourself being in Northampton for most of those hours in Northampton in the community?
I mean, yes, I would have to. I can't imagine this is a position where I could basically phone it in. You need to get respect from the staff and from the tenants. There may be at some point down the road where I might be able to do some working from home, but that's not my intention. I know that I'm going to need to be on site, that I'm going to need to be seen. And I did have a question about these board meetings. Do you always do these board meetings via Zoom?
We do. We have been
Okay.
doing them on Zoom, yes. That doesn't mean that we always will, but in the past few years, we've had commissioners who have traveled for work. And some of them still do. So it actually was helpful to us. But I think there has definitely been discussion about having in-person meetings again. We've been consumed with what we're doing right now. And
Right.
that's been our work. And another question perhaps, and then maybe a last minute of telling us why you want this job.
Sure.
Do you have any other questions? This is what I have.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you had another question for me.
Uh,
I did see that as of March in the minutes that you had 40 vacancies, 10 of which were federal housing. I was wondering if you had any updates on that, if there are more vacancies now or less.
There are fewer, I believe. Did someone else speak? No. I
No.
believe we have filled maybe 15, 18 since then. And there were a number of units that had a great deal of belongings that had to be removed that took a little time. But the system has been sort of rebuilt in this organization so that different staff are now doing the work of identifying units and that need to be filled and processing applications. So as soon as that happened, as soon as the new maintenance supervisor came on, we were able to move very quickly and start filling again. So families are moving in. I don't have the exact number and I apologize for that.
No, that's okay. That's good news because I did see that the main holdup was on the management side and with Champ, according to the interim director. So, I just would be curious as to, who is doing what exactly, what roles are being done, what kind of efficiencies we could bring in terms of either, splitting up duties or streamlining processes, some systems that I've created that I think help track things and make things a little bit easier for people to manage. And So, and I see we're running out of time here. At the end of the day, I just think that I would be a good fit for this position. I think that I've been doing the role of an executive director for the last 7 years. And I think that in looking at everything that you have here, I certainly could take this on.
I have one
Thank-
question about your name.
Yes,
How do you say your last name? Is it Skull? How do you say last name?
Skoog.
Skoog. Okay,
Skoog.
thank you.
Andy Skoog. Andy, it was a pleasure to have you on. Thank you very much. We do have another meeting in which we will do deliberations, and from there we will make our decision, and you'll hear from us, I'm sure. It's possible that one of us may ask a follow-up question through Mass Narrow's consultant who we're working with. But I don't know that quite yet. So, and you may want to respond through him to answer our questions.
Okay, no problem. Thank you all for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you too.
Thank
Take
you.
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you, Andy. Okay, our next candidate is ready to be admitted.
Okay.
Bring them in.
Okay. Here she comes. It's going to be Kathleen Povar. And as soon as she comes in,
Let's see.
and do we see her yet?
Uh,
Kathleen, are you there yet? There she is.
oh, here, let me get her on mute. No, now it's switched to Tom. There we go. All right.
She's still muted.
Let's get her.
We're trying to control. Okay, there she is.
There I am. Okay.
Welcome, Kathleen Povar.
Hello. Hi, Patricia.
Thank you. My name is Patty Healy, and I am the chairperson. We met before in the screening
Yes.
interviews. Yes, so we, as a committee, we're a committee of commissioners and folks who are on the screening committee.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry. And we will be asking you, each will ask you a question. We're going through an order. And if we won't be having follow-ups, but if we get through all those questions, we will follow up again. And we have a few
Okay.
questions from residents as well.
Okay.
So I'm not even going to have you introduce yourself beyond, well, you can say who you are, where you're from. Yes, please do that. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Kathleen Povar.
Oh, Kathleen.
And I'm the Director of Field Operations at the Fall River Housing Authority, and I'm very excited to be having this interview with all of you today.
Thank you so much. Our first question will be from Hank Abrashkin.
Thank you very much. Hello, William or Hank Abrashkin, a member of the Board of Commissioners. And the question is as follows. Can you provide an example of a situation where you faced a significant organizational challenge that is similar to a challenge facing the Northampton Housing Authority, where you identified a problem, determined a solution, and steered the organization forward in that direction?
Are you speaking specifically to your problems or to any general? Are you talking about general, like housing authority issues?
Well, the question is faced a significant organizational challenge similar to a challenge that the Northampton Housing Authority is facing.
Oh, okay. Like in terms of your leadership, and looking for a new leader. I just want to make sure I understand the question. Yeah. So I hope I understand this question correctly, because I don't want to assume anything. But I have actually worked in an agency where when I worked in Providence Housing Authority, our executive director was removed following a complaint and an investigation. It was a very hard time, I think, for all of us. This is going back a number of years, but Stephen O'Rourke was his name, and he actually, I worked under him for about 8 years prior to his being put on administrative leave and then ultimately resigning. But I wasn't in charge of the agency at the time. So, I mean, I can just say from my standpoint, at that time I was the family programs manager. I had a staff of about 20 people, some who were familiar with the situation and some who were not. And I think what was most important was to remain steady as a leader in my department, and to not get mired down in what really, at the end of the day, wasn't my battle to fight. I wasn't involved in it, and I didn't want it hurting the morale of the staff that I oversaw, because I did see it was eroding the morale across the agency. And I understand that could probably be a real challenge that your agency is facing. So I really sympathize with it. So, I mean, I'm just going to say what I would do if I were to come in to a role such as this, which is out the gate, communicating to all of the stakeholders, that is employees of the agency, as well as the residents and participants, community partners, establishing a solid foundation of ethics, compliance, understanding our mission, making sure everybody's on the same page. I definitely lead from a collaborative standpoint. So I don't like to make decisions in a vacuum. I don't believe in issuing orders from the ivory tower. I'm a big proponent of transparency, especially when it's, when a lot of people have a lot of questions, and how to diplomatically kind of state your situation and come to a plan for how to move forward, as a whole, as opposed to like a fragmented agency. So that would be my priority, is really communication and listening. Listening is a big part of that.
Thank you for that, Kathleen. Thank you. I'm sorry that it was a question that was not clear to you, but others will be. Next question will be from Brad Gordon.
Hi, Kathleen. I'm Brad Gordon. I'm serving as a community consultant for the interviewing process. Welcome. My question is as follows. Could you please present your plan, including priorities for the first 12 months as the Northampton Housing Authority Executive Director, as well as your vision for potential housing and program development over the next 5 years? So it's really a two-part question.
Okay. Well, I think, first of all, coming in as an outsider, I would want to take a look at how the agency is performing as a whole, both from a financial standpoint and also from like a program performance standpoint. I also think I would put a lot of emphasis on customer satisfaction as well. So I would kind of want to get engaged with the residents and the LTOs. And in terms of priority setting, you kind of have to look at the annual plan. You have to your agency already has established a budget and goals, and you're reporting out on those annually, and I would assume looking at your performance internally on a regular basis and making sure you're meeting your benchmarks. I come from a background that's really rooted in strategic planning, which involves looking at your internally and externally as an agency, and engaging with your stakeholders, making sure everybody understands what the mission is, and coming from a collaborative position, with everybody in the agency being involved in the decision making. So I think that I would be meeting with the department heads, for one, to get a sense of where they feel things are going in their department, getting a sense of what their needs are, and doing the same on the focus of the resident side, meeting with the LTOs and trying to get an understanding of where they are before issuing any kind of change. I don't think I would be approaching it from okay, I know what needs to be done, and I'm going to come in and save the day. I don't think that it's going to work that way. But I think that by making sure that we're meeting our obligations, to provide decent, safe, and sanitary housing, that we are a good neighbor to the community, and that there's some back and forth there. I think I'd also really want to get to know what, as a board of commissioners who I would be reporting to, I would want to know what your priorities are, what your concerns are, and take all of that into account for when we go ahead for the next planning year, because every year you're setting. I get very involved in my job. I've been doing the annual planning for the last 11 years for our agency, and also the 5-year plan. And I've been fully responsible for that. And that involves meeting with the resident advisory board over a series of meetings, and rolling out our proposed policy changes and answering questions, and then obviously going, drafting it up, sending it to HUD, getting the approval, and then going ahead and implementing any kind of changes. Like, for example, right now I'm working on a parking policy where within our developments, we have very limited on-site parking. That factors in a lot of things like reasonable accommodations. There's certain laws around that, to ensure that residents are getting their accessibility needs met. So that would be kind of my, at the outset, kind of taking the temperature of the organization, getting a sense of like where you might need some improvement. I mean, I did a little research on my own, and I found that your submission rate is a little low when it comes to your 5058s. That's just public knowledge you can find on the website. I think your occupancy could do a little better too. Only on your federal programs. I'm not familiar with where you're performing on your state, but yeah. That, I guess I'm kind of all over the place. To me, just a general questions. It's really hard to like pick where I'd focus. I mean, there's also, union negotiations and, figuring out where you guys are in job descriptions, looking at all the whole personnel to help the agency in terms of skills development and what have you.
Okay. Thank you for that question. Our next question will be from Doug Kierdorf, who's one of the LTO
Hello.
presidents.
Hello. Thanks for being here. My name is Doug Kierdorf. I'm the head of the LTO at 4 Sandra Apartments, which I understand you visited. You mentioned creating standardized procedures and data-driven performance systems.
Yes.
How would you use performance data without losing sight of the human side of public housing? And what indicators would you personally monitor every month?
Well, I do a lot of performance management in my day-to-day. I'm always looking at our accounts receivable, and how we're doing in terms of our collections on repayment agreements. We also been taking a strong stance on fraud, that is unreported income. So we've been getting very aggressive in that department. I actually developed like an affordability matrix basically for these kinds of repayment agreements, to make sure that they are realistic and affordable for our residents. Taking a look at what their income is, and if they have unreported income, we want them to pay it back. We want them to be able to pay it back. So things like checking our balances, your occupancy is very important. I know, especially in the state side, you can be hit with vacancy fees if you're not, getting your waivers submitted in time. I've been looking at admissions. I don't know how you guys manage your waiting list, but that's one area that I really specialize in. So when my department reports out on key performance indicators, some of those are number of people housed within a period of time. I usually measure everything by fiscal year, and I report on a monthly basis. But, also looking at like, what are the reasons for why people are moving out? For example, where we had a lot of non-payment cases, particularly after COVID, and there's a real spike in the number of non-payment evictions that we carried out. And with that comes collection loss. So, you kind of have to balance the interests of the housing authority and also try to preserve housing for people who need it. But also don't let people abuse that, through not paying their rent and taking up a unit when they're violating the lease, when there's somebody on the waiting list who could really use it. So that was your question was about key performance indicators. Trying to think, well, obviously like work order completion rates, but as an agency as a whole, I know you also have you have a substantial voucher program. So
Yeah.
I would like to, take a look at what your VMS submissions look like, your CMAP scores, how is the agency for your FAS scores? I look at the financial data schedule, even though I'm not a finance person. The FDS is actually something that we look at. Actually, what HUD looks at when it's determining what your management indicator score is for the public housing management assessment system, which is the FAS scoring. I noticed that you guys are a high performer, which is awesome. And I'd like to see, where you guys are succeeding in that regard. But when you're talking about procedures, I think your question was around, operating procedures and how we use data to inform decision making. That's something that I take very seriously. We had a very high, historically here in Fall River, when I came on board, there was a very high vacancy rate and very long unit turnaround times, and just like a real disconnect between maintenance and management and tenant selection. And one of the feathers in my cap, one of my accomplishments, and actually carried over to Section 8 because I ended up working as a consultant for our Section 8 department and kind of doing the same thing, but I streamlined our admissions process and our unit turnover procedures. So we developed procedures that help to carry out our goals of shortening turnaround time and increasing our occupancy rate. But I didn't do that in a vacuum. I worked with our maintenance department leadership and our tenant selection leadership, created forms, policy, standard operating procedures. That's like my jam. I'm a big numbers person. I love, when you talk about data, I mean, don't get me started. If you knew the thousands and thousands of Excel spreadsheets that I have in my hard drive or in the cloud that I use on a regular basis, I'll do longitudinal studies as well. I'll take a look at. I don't necessarily trust even the software that we use to accurately measure like waiting list time. So how long is somebody waiting on the waiting list to get into housing, right? What are all the variables that come into play? With your waiting list priorities, with your screening procedures, all of this. I mean, our screening procedures were hilarious when I first came on here. It was taking like forever just to get a criminal background check. I mean, we implemented my time here, FBI fingerprinting. We actually do all of our own FBI fingerprinting now. And we've been doing that for the past 9 or 10 years. Which is really great because you get a really accurate picture of whether or not this person might be a good candidate for admission. I'm assuming you probably have a bit of a lower turnover rate because you're a smaller housing authority, but we have, over 2,300 units of public housing. And I would say our turnover is around 2.5%. So you're looking at about 150 to 200 plus people leaving and coming in each year. And so that in and of itself is a process, but it works like a well-oiled machine here. And I'm so proud of it. So in fact, it was so successful that I was asked to take several years ago to take a look at the Section 8 program that we have here, which is also under 2,000 vouchers, but I eliminated through the court the process of public hearings and what have you, amended the admin plan as part of the annual planning process to eliminate things like the rent burden requirement and some other like administratively burdensome procedures for screening applicants, which just really delays the process and it's more work for really no benefit. So we removed a lot of those barriers and bam, all of a sudden they're issuing vouchers. Of course, right now they're not because everybody's in shortfall, but
Kathleen,
so.
Kathleen, I'm going to move on just because there's some other questions that I think you'll want to answer as well.
Oh, okay.
But it sounds like you are a data person. Definitely.
I love it. Yes.
Thank you for that. Our next question will be from Jim Nash, Commissioner Nash.
Hi, Kathleen. Thank you for being here. An important aspect of the ED role is public facing. The NHA executive director interacts with the press, public officials, the Board of Commissioners, and NHA residents. Could you speak to your experience and skills as a public figure?
Sure. Yes. Actually, under the last administration, under a previous executive, our last two executive directors, actually, um, my I was actually paid a stipend to do this, which was kind of nice. But now I have an executive director who loves to be out there. But I kind of did that on behalf of the executive and deputy director. I was the person that fielded all inquiries from our elected officials. So any like our state representative, like State Representative Viola, Alan Sylvia, um, anybody who's basically representing the constituents. We have shared constituents, our residents, their voters, right? Um, I would always welcome questions and always provide a solid answer to any kind of question, even if it was something that was too confidential and I couldn't, I had to just be general. I would make sure that there was a clear understanding because a lot of the time I think there's people in the public that just don't understand. They think, oh, I've been on the waiting list forever, or I don't understand why this property manager is asking me to do this. And it's our job to be able to explain that in plain language that's understandable, but also helps them understand basically what our challenges are and that how we are addressing them. So it's there has to be a big, for me, I'm big on honesty. I mean, I love to own my accomplishments, but I will own my failures as well. I don't think that they should be swept under the carpet. If you make a mistake, human error it's going to happen. It's bound to happen. But what I don't have tolerance for is abuse of power, people taking privileges where they shouldn't because of where they are in their position within the agency. I have a real problem with that. I'm a big proponent of equity and fairness, access, and I will stand by any regulation that we have to adhere to. So if people are saying, well, why do you have such high vacancies at Maple Gardens? Well, that was a great problem. That was a champ. I mean, I don't want to finger point, but at the same time, you had the state rolling out this whole centralized waiting list, and it was a debacle. And I think every housing authority in the state, was in agreement. This was a nightmare. It's getting better, but EOHLC had, they kind of put themselves in a bit of a pickle, and they put the rest of us into a pickle as well.
Mhm.
So
Thank you, Kathleen.
Thank you for that,
I don't know if
Kathleen.
that helps.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to our next Commissioner Tara Button Springfield has a question.
Of course. Kathleen, it's nice to see you again. And I want to start off asking, how do you properly say your last name?
Povar.
Okay, Povar. Okay. You currently oversee a larger housing portfolio than Northampton's. I think you mentioned it too. 2,300 units serving about what, 4,400 residents?
Approximately, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I want to know, I guess, what attracts you to this smaller housing authority, and how would your leadership style adapt to a community-focused organization like Northampton? I know you visit here on your own dime, and you like it, but I'd like to know if you could talk a little bit about that. You've already said a lot of the stuff, so.
This isn't the first smaller housing authority that I've applied to. Several years ago, I applied to, I want to say it was a Cushnet housing authority, and I ended up withdrawing my application. I got to the interview phase, and I was like, I'm going to be bored. It was too small. Yours, it's like, there's too big and there's too small and there's just right. And I think that there's something about Northampton that that appeals to me. I think, first of all, the situation that you're in, the reason why you're looking for an executive director resonates with me just as a professional in the field. And it's heartbreaking to see something like that happen to a public agency, and it's hard to recover from. But I think that even though, I don't think that the problems that we have in a large housing authority are all that different from what you will have at your agency.
Mhm.
I mean, I know that you have a higher ratio of state aided housing, so there's more of a heavy hand with EOHLC as opposed to HUD. But the problems are the same. You still have family housing, and you have the issues that are endemic to public housing projects, and with where families live, as opposed to you have your 667 or your elderly disabled developments. I don't believe you have an elderly only program, though, do you? You don't have a designated housing plan, but you have a 705, right? As well, you have 705s in Chapter 200
Yes.
and 667. Yeah. So the population, they're low income population, even if they're big or small, it's the same challenges that people face.
Right.
I am ready to lead. I am in a really, I think I mentioned in my initial interview, tired of face planting against the glass ceiling. And I don't mean to say that but this, it's not about gender, but it is about gender, because I'm working in an agency where there's never been a female executive or deputy director ever. And, I have a lot in my department, a lot of property managers are women. And it's disheartening to see that where the priority isn't really with let's have an innovative leader, a passionate leader, somebody who really cares about this field. I mean, this is my chosen field. I went and got my master's degree because I had a career in public housing, and I got that over 10 years ago. And I guess what appeals to me is maybe I'd be able to. It's a little easier in a way if you've got a smaller housing authority to get to know the residents a little bit better. I know the squeaky wheels and stuff like that in a big agency like that, but I don't know a lot of people. And I think that there's a better, lower ratio of residents to staff, that you could have a better quality relationships.
Thank you for that, Kathleen. I want to make sure I get to our next questioner, because we're getting close to the end here. Ben Wood, Commissioner Wood is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
Right here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all of your responses so far. I'm curious about your approach to building a positive and inclusive workplace, and really thinking about team building and your staff, and how it is that you would create a good working culture, and how it is that you would bring the Board of Commissioners also into your approach, so that we had a sense of what it is that you're doing, and whether it's successful or not.
Well, when it comes to staff, I'm a big believer in investing in your workforce. So, promoting training opportunities for staff, making sure that they have the tools that they need to succeed, whether that's technology or something else, whether it's a reasonable accommodation because they have a disability and they need a certain accommodation to perform their work duties. But I am also familiar with working in a union house, so there's understanding people's job descriptions and what their job classifications require. So considering employee satisfaction and working on morale, because that's another thing that I'm a bit passionate about, is when you have people at the executive level making decisions without any kind of consideration for what the trickle down effect is, what the appearances of a conflict of interest might be, and how that would erode morale in the workforce. That's something that I would take very seriously. So I think my vision, in terms of making sure that staff have the tools and training and support that they need to deliver excellent service, and where decisions are guided by transparency and regulatory compliance and long-term sustainability, but by communicating those goals in plain language for residents and staff to understand, so that there's no what's going on up there, what's going on behind closed doors, something seems a little sus. I think it's important to keep your board informed. And I almost wonder sometimes when I'll sit in a board meeting at my agency and I think, did they even understand what they just approved? I feel like they don't. And then yet they'll spend all this time on a question that's really paltry. And honestly, like it just almost looks like, oh, now you're looking like you have a personal stake here, and that's something that I don't appreciate either. So I think a strong leader is one who's um, listens to their staff and makes sure that everybody's on the same page and that we're all kind of following the same values and principles.
Okay, thank you, Kathleen. We're right at the end, so take a minute to take a deep breath and say why you want this job.
Like I said, I think I said this a lot. I am ready for this chapter in my career. Okay, I'm 52 years old. I've been doing this work for 30 years. I've seen what good leadership looks like and what bad leadership looks like, and I'm looking for an opportunity, and one within the state of Massachusetts, obviously, because that's where it's at. And I think that I would love to bring a fresh new start, like a new day for Northampton Housing Authority. I would like to take advantage of that opportunity of being new, to be like, I'm all ears, and let's work together to accomplish this mission and become a beacon, really, in the community for quality housing, ethical, transparent decision making, fiscal accountability, program quality. Those principles is what I think I would bring. And yeah, so if you'll have me, it would be such an honor. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you for that. We've reached the end of our time. I'm trying really hard to stick to the
I understand.
To the schedule. If there are further questions from our group, they would send those to Silas, and who would then get to you and get back. I think you may hear from us with another question, but I don't know that for sure. But I thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was nice meeting you again.
Kathleen.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Next. Sorry.
So Mary Rose, I believe, is unmuted. Mary Rose, are you here?
I am here. How are you?
I am good. I'm managing the meeting, Mary Rose, and you seem to be in the queue twice. So
and I don't see your video.
Oh, it's
See.
on. I'm sorry about that. Let me see if I can fix that.
I can't. I'm gonna admit the other one in. Hopefully it's the same Mary Rose.
Yeah, that might be it.
Okay.
There's two.
No, that's not her.
No, that's me. Oh.
See.
I only see one square. I see one.
I see two at the
You
very
see-
bottom
Oh, okay.
next to Judy's iPhone 2.
I've asked both Mary Roses to unmute. She may have two different devices, or
I see.
I saw her queuing up right before the other candidate was, and I think she was worried she wasn't going to get into the meeting.
Right. Mary Rose, are you there? It may also be because one's a co-host and one's a host. Is that
Let's see.
be a part of it?
Right. I'm asking her to unmute.
Okay.
There she
Hello.
is.
Hi.
Yes, I was trying to unmute, but it said the host has disabled your ability to unmute.
So
We still don't see you though.
Oh.
Mary
Yeah.
Rose, could you have possibly slid there's at the top of your camera, there's a little sliding thing there that sometimes
Well, it's open.
Oh, there's something. There's
Her
your
name.
Let me
name.
try again. Can you see me now?
Yes,
Hello.
there you go.
hello.
Maybe technology is good till it's not.
Welcome.
Thank
You
you.
made it.
So I think
Hi,
I
Mary
am in there
Rose.
twice. I'm getting an echo.
Yeah, so I'm gonna kick the other Mary Rose out, okay?
Thank you.
All right, let's see what happens. Hopefully I kick the right. Mary Rose,
Is that better?
did I get the other one out?
Mary Rose, can you talk and see how your echo is?
Good afternoon.
It's
You
fine.
don't hear an echo.
That's good.
Oh, okay. I do on my end, but I'll deal with that.
Oh, okay. Welcome. I'm Patty Healy. I'm the chair of the commission, and we did meet when we did our screening interviews. Thank you for coming on again. And I'm going to start my timer. We are seven. We are commissioners and committee members, and each of us have a question that we'll ask. It'll take about a minute for each person to ask a question, and then if we complete all seven questions, we'll go back around again. But we're going to get right into it, and each person who I call on will introduce themselves, and we'll go forward with that. So, Commissioner Brashkin, would you start?
Thank you very much. Just trying to get in there. There we go. Thank you. I'm sorry. I don't see our candidate.
She's on the screen there, Hank. If you can't see her, it must be your display, but we see you, we see her, and
Okay,
Here.
different from prior. Well, let me just try one thing.
all right, where'd she go?
Yeah.
Try speaker and not gallery.
I'm sorry. Ms. Mensa, can you hear my voice?
Yeah, she can.
She can. Why don't you ask your question, and then maybe you can figure out
I'll
how
ask,
to
I'll
find
ask a
her.
question, but I just don't see the image. Anyhow, thank you very much. And here's the question I'd like to ask. Can you provide an example of a situation where you faced a significant organizational challenge that is similar to a challenge facing the Northampton Housing Authority, where you identified a problem, determined a solution, and steered the organization forward in that direction?
You're muted.
Oh, goodness. All right, let's,
Unmute her, Jim.
I think
There we go.
Hello, can you hear me now?
yes,
Yes.
go.
Okay, thank you. So yes, so a problem that I've had and that I can relate to Northampton Housing Authority and how to get us on the right track. That was the question, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So when I was at Pawtucket Housing Authority, I was their director of resident services. And one of the things that we had to deal with there was establishing tenant associates. There was a big gap that we had in the services between the tenants and the staff of the PHA. And we were actually able to successfully get that up and running. And they were successful. They hosted wonderful events. They had a great membership. And when I had left there, they were still in full swing, getting buy-in from the community for services to be brought on site for the elderly and disabled residents that lived there. So in doing my research for Northampton Housing Authority and reviewing the previous board minutes from the past few months, I did see that there is a common thread that seems to be the mitigation of rodents. So in looking at the minutes, it looks like there was a specific chemical that folks were concerned about their
Oh,
Oh,
shit.
your sound is going in and out a little bit, Mary Rose.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're
Is that
back.
better?
You're back. Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I live in a little bit of a rural area, so sometimes the connection is not
Yeah,
that great.
so do we.
Yeah. So the way that I looked at it and tried to problem solve and map out is who are the vendors in the local area that could provide us quotes with products that will ensure will not cause any damage to our residents' beloved animals. And also a solution that may be better for the environment as well. So my plan of action would be to do some research to local vendors, get quotes, and compare the products that they're using to the product that seems to have some concerns.
Mhm.
And then we would make a decision from there.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We're moving on to our next, Brad Gordon. You can introduce yourself and pose your question.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Brad Gordon. I'm serving as a community consultant for the interview process. It's nice to meet you, Mary Rose. And my question is as follows. Could you please present your plan, including priorities for the first 12 months as the Northampton Housing Authority Executive Director? And the second part of this question is, as well as your vision for potential housing and program development over the next 5 years.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's a good one. So I think the plan for the 12 months, 12 months is the hardest in a period of transition. And not being from Massachusetts, I would use at least the first 90 days as a learning curve to learn the potential community partners, meet the staff, get a level of comfort and build some trust with them. I'd like to tour all of the properties, I'd maybe host some coffee with the CEO to get some people's feedback, hear what they would like to have happen. So the rest of that 12 months would be kind of like a catch-up interim period. Jump in, look for the problems that need to be solved. How can we use our partners to help us solve those? How can we get the tenants' input to address those issues? And begin planning for the next year. And the second part of that was my vision for program development over 5 years. This is one of my favorite parts of any job that I have, because right now is not critical, but the future needs to be secured and make sure that there's a well thought out plan to keep the residents happy. So I would look around the properties, see what's lacking, have host hours, coffee hours to get residents buy-in. What would they like to have happen? Look at the census of clients and see what services they need on site. Do we need to bring a clinician on site? Do we need GED classes on site? Can we partner with a local college to have come build raised garden beds and teach the elderly about how to harvest their plants and eating healthy?
Okay.
And I think also keeping in mind capital expenses and make sure we're maintaining buildings as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for that. Our next speaker will be Doug Kierdorf. And Doug, you'll introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Doug Kierdorf. I am the head of the LTO at 4 Sandra Apartments, one of the NHA properties. I think you mainly just answered the question that I was going to ask, but part of that question is, how would you ensure all resident voices are heard, including those who are less likely to attend meetings or advocate for themselves? And another part of the question was, from your resume, you've worked extensively with seniors, which you will, I'm a senior, and families and people with disabilities. So, well, then the question was, how would you ensure that all resident voices are heard? Because right now, a lot of residents don't feel that their voices are heard.
I'm sorry that's the current situation. These are your homes and we need to be respectful of what your needs are. With some folks, there's a varying degree of participation. Some people tend to be very vocal. Some people like to put things in writing. I think in order to have everyone's voices heard, we need to have several venues for people to be able to get their opinions and concerns to us. So we could do like a drop box, like a suggestion box. We could have a tenant email set up strictly for clients and residents to voice their concerns right through that email if they're tech savvy. And we can have good old community meetings where we just get together and look at each other and talk and till we come up with a solution that benefits the PHA and the residents.
Thank you, Mary. Thanks for that. Our next speaker will be Commissioner Jim Nash.
Who is also the producer of this meeting.
Thank
All right, let me
goodness.
say, let's see, where'd my questions go? All right. An important aspect of the executive director role is public facing. The NHA executive director interacts with the press, public officials, the board of commissioners, and the NHA residents. Could you speak to your experience and skills as a public figure?
Yes. So in my previous role, I was the director of homelessness for the state of Rhode Island. In that position, I had to be very multifaceted with the people that I interacted with. I had to deal not directly with the press, but I've done that with ribbon cuttings and program openings. But Board of Commissioners, I'm very comfortable with public speaking. Your Board of Commissioners is your boss. So you have to be able to confidently relay what you're trying to get across. As for the residents, I'm very comfortable speaking with residents. I've had plenty of years of experience in dealing with residents who are upset because it's too cold, or residents who are upset because the plowing is not done enough, or people who just are lonely and want to talk for a few minutes. Like I said, we're in their home, so we need to keep our residents happy and as comfortable as possible.
Thank you for that. Our next question is from Commissioner Joella Tarbutton-Springfield.
Hello, Mary Rose. Can you help me in saying your last name, please?
Mensa.
Mensa. Okay, great. You answered a lot of stuff, and actually, some of the programs that you had mentioned, we've had that. We got a growth, we got a community garden, and we got a grant. Broadband Institute of Technology got us a grant here. We haven't fully implemented it yet with residents, and we even had refurbished laptops for residents to use. But then there'll be a resident, they'll get the laptop, they'll participate, and then they'll say, how do you use this thing? How do you turn it on? So everything is a challenge. Everything is a challenge because I thought, bring it to and it'll be all great, and it quite hasn't been that way. So I just want to know, because you've worked extensively with seniors, families, people with disabilities, and individuals experiencing homelessness. And again, these groups, as you stated, have different priorities. And so I'm just curious, even in the scenarios that I gave you, how would you balance competing the needs of diverse residents population?
I think that's where you tap into your social service team. That's what your resident service coordinators are there for, to ensure that everyone's voice is being heard, that those priorities are being brought to leadership so we could develop a plan to address them. And again, I think it's just having those public forum opportunities where they're seeing a face who's listening to them and hearing their concerns and validating them whenever it's necessary.
Thank you. I can hear your echo there. It's very diminished, but I hope it's not bothering you too much. No, it's very little, but I'm aware of it. So I think it probably bothers you more than us. So our next question will be from Commissioner Ben Wood.
Yeah, thanks, Betty, and Mary Rose. Your audio is totally fine. It's all good. Thanks for being here, and thanks for pursuing the opportunity. So my question is about your approach to workplace culture and building a good team. really interested in knowing how it is you'll go about creating a really inclusive and positive work environment for the staff of the Northampton Housing Authority, and how you can bring in the board, us commissioners, into an understanding of what that approach is and how it's working, and whether or not it's being successful.
Sure. I'm so glad you asked that, because actually building teams is my superpower. So workplace culture is so important. We spend so much of our time at work, and my mantra is kind of like, let's not make work miserable. So I like to have fun. I like to celebrate the wins, no matter how small they are. And I think it goes a long way with staff just to know they're appreciated for the work that they do. Some of these frontline staff, they're berated, they're sworn at, it's just not a walk in the park and rainbows and butterflies all the time. So I think any way that we can appreciate staff and let them know how much we value them goes a long way.
Great. Thank you. We still have plenty of time, so I have a couple of questions that were from residents. We met with residents in a number of settings, and they submitted some to us. So the first, this one I haven't asked anyone yet. The first one is residents have asked the search committee to consider candidates who will be present for the day-to-day operations that involve tenants to be an active community member, attend our events, and to be available in emergencies. Will you be able to meet the needs of residents in this community?
I believe yes. Although I'm a Rhode Islander, we're not that far. So I will make accommodations to my calendar to attend as many of the events and be a community partner as often as I can.
Okay, great. Thanks. I'll ask one more, and then I think we'll go back through if people have follow-up questions. What is your experience in addressing the serious security issues that are faced by tenants in their residencies in public housing?
Yes, security is important. It varies by development, it varies by building. Generally, the family sites tend to be a little more active, but I think having a positive working relationship with the local police department can assist us with rectifying some of those issues. If necessary, there are some instances where security on site will be required. Sometimes there's an event. I did read that there was some unfortunate incidents that happened at the units at Northampton. So that is a significant event that may prompt the hiring of a security, whether on staff or per diem through a company for however amount of time is determined until we feel that the building's safe again.
Thank you for that. I'm going to ask others if they have a follow-up question. I do have other resident questions, but I would prefer to follow up, and I was going to go through the order. Hank, did you have a follow-up?
No, once again, just to thank you the images are jumping around all over the place. Mary Rose, so thank you very much for all the work that you did getting to this point, and really appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you.
And Brad Gordon, did you have a follow-up?
I do not. And I just want to convey my thanks for your work on this interview. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And Doug Kierdorf, you're next and your hand is raised. Go for it.
Yes, okay. You managed approximately $40 million in state and federal funding while serving as Rhode Island's Director of Homelessness and Housing Stabilization. What financial and management lessons from that role would you translate to Northampton? And also, how would you prioritize competing funding needs when resources are limited, which of course they always are?
Yes, they are. So most of the funding is braided and has limitations on what you can use it for. So I think having a solid plan going in of what your sources of income are and having a plan pre-developed is going to help manage whatever situation you're in. There's always going to be times where you're going to have to adjust, but you just have to go and be prepared for that.
And I'm going to abuse my privileges here. What experience do you have writing grant proposals?
Yes, I have significant grant writing experience. Right now for my agency, I'm currently one of the staff members that sits in the grant committee that submits the grants for all of our programs. In my previous role at Rhode Island Housing, I used to write the HUD grant every year for the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. And that supported the program and the coordinator's salary. So I was essentially writing the grant that was going to keep me employed.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
good.
And I'm sorry, were you done? I didn't want to jump the gun there. Commissioner Joella Tarbutton Springfield.
Hello. Yes, I'm a resident board commissioner, so I really do. I'm in the best of both worlds. I just want to, if I could, give you a scenario and ask you how you would handle it. For example, in the building that I'm in, one of the elevators has been out for going on 3 months. And then about a week or two ago, got really scared when the second elevator went out. Some of the times, and they usually do go out, but some of the questions they say, well, the parts are old, or these are old elevators, considering I worked at a college which was built before the Civil War, but the elevators were. So assure me that, because it's scary, assure me, what would you do if this was the case with you? To get the elevators running so people can get in and out of their house. It's scary.
Yes. And I am actually going through this situation right now in my main building. We have 2 elevators that are original to the building, which was built in the 80s. The parts are antiquated and you can't get them. So we had to get quotes for a whole elevator mod, which was a lot more than we had budgeted for. And we had a downtime of, I mean, our elevator is still currently down. It went down in like January.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
You're suddenly muted.
Oh,
No,
after you
we can hear
said
you.
January, we lost
No,
you.
she's
You
there.
said it went down in January. What did you say next?
yes, our elevator's been down since January. We do have a plan in place, but it is in fact due to the fact that parts have been unavailable and are on back order. So that's out of our control. So what we did was ensure that our elevator that was working was used at a minimum for those who had mobility issues or needed to carry large loads.
Thank you for that. It's nice to hear that somebody else has the same
Oh,
problem.
it's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare, right?
Oh, terrible.
Oh. It's not nice to hear it, but I felt a little comfort there. My last person to get to was actually I skipped Jim Nash. Did you have another question, Jim?
No, I'm good. This
Okay.
is great.
All right, great. And then our last question would be from Ben Wood. We have plenty of time, but Ben, do you have another
Yeah,
question?
Patty, I'm good too. I cede the time back to Mary Rose for any closing thoughts that she wants to
Okay,
provide.
great. Thanks. So, Mary Rose, thank you. I would love to have you just say a few more words about why you think you like the job, what you like about Northampton, why you're coming to would like to come to the Housing Authority, why do you like to have fun,
Yes. Sure. So thank you all for this opportunity. I'm really appreciative of the time. I think that I would be a good fit for this position because of my extensive knowledge in working with HUD and public housing and residents. I think I'm a good fit because it's time for me to get back on the field. I love working with the residents. I love working for public housing. It's just my passion. So I can assure you that I will come and clean and it will be great.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. So we will be deliberating in a few days, and it's possible you may hear from Silas about follow-up questions that we have. They would go to him and then to you, and then he would get back to us. with that. So, watch for that. And otherwise, thank you very much for your
Thank you.
time. It was nice to see you again.
Yes. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thanks for that.
Okay, our final candidate is in the room,
Okay.
and I
Who
need
would
to
that be?
unmute her.
You sure they can make it here in this location?
Let's give it oh, no, hold it. John, I just unmuted you by accident.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, so John, if you could turn your microphone off, that was an accident. I was aiming for Sharon and then it bounced. So thank you.
John Malley, would you mute
Yeah,
yourself?
I'm trying. I am trying.
Sorry about that. Didn't
Oh,
mean
I
to
can.
jump on you.
Thank you. You're the
Thank
best.
you.
And Sharon,
Hi.
testing 1, 2, 3. Okay,
There
Sharon's
she
here.
is. Welcome, Sharon.
Hello.
Sharon Kimball. Sharon, you know everyone, I think, on this. Well, you might not know everybody. We have our questions ready. We're going in order. I'll just ask each person to just introduce themselves, and we're going to get right into it.
Okay.
So I will start with, and we're going in alphabetical order here. Start with Hank Brashkin. Would you start with the first question? I'll start this way.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Sharon. I think we all have a sense that you're just a little bit busy these days. So the question I have was more aimed to people apart from people who, like you, who already work for the Northampton Housing Authority, but I think I can adapt it as follows. Can you provide an example of a situation where you faced a significant organizational challenge? That obviously would apply to the present position you're in, where you identified a problem, determined a solution, and steered the organization forward in that direction.
Okay. I've had many challenges in the last 9 months, to be honest. So if I can say a few, that would be great. One of them, of course, was when I first became the acting executive director. I felt like I had to right away stabilize the staff. There was a lot of talking going around. There was a lot of no one was really connecting. There was a lot of division. And I really wanted to try to bring everybody together. And I can only do that by communication, building trust. And that's what I did. And I slowly started seeing that it was starting to calm down. People were really starting to focus more on work. And I continued to evaluate where we were at NHA. So, I decided to hire a director of maintenance to help with the maintenance team because I really felt like they needed support to help them have more training to make their jobs better and to have guidance. So I brought in a director of maintenance and we're doing great. I think tenants will agree. Work orders are being done quicker. And I've only gotten positive feedback from that decision that I made. I will, every day there's challenges. I've been dealt with a challenge of just recently where one of my elevators were down for a while, which I had already put in for a capital improvement fund to get it funded because it's a lot of money. It was like 40 grand. And they're going to do the control panel, which by the way is going to be happening on the 16th. And I also had a trash compactor down at one building. So, tenants, of course, weren't that happy and I don't blame them. But, I continued to do the best I could for the trash part. I had maintenance guys on every floor. They would go in the morning. Throughout the day, we had a system to where trash was picked up at each end of the hallway and they would maintain and keep it going. So it was working out really fine. The trash compactor is fixed. It got fixed on Friday, so that no longer is a problem. But meanwhile, the other elevator went down. I was on vacation. I got a text from an employee right away and then a text from a board member. And I had already put in place prior to that with my staff because I was already thinking about it, what if the elevator went down? So we had a plan. We had a plan to go in and have maintenance be on every floor, call the fire department, and have support there to make sure of any emergencies. And I had the elevator up and running within 7 hours. Then I had a horrible incident that I had to deal with here. And this is all within 9 months, by the way, just saying. And, we had an incident where there was a death, and it was very tragic at McDonald's. And I put together right away within it happened at 1 a.m. And by 10 a.m., I was meeting with tenants at McDonald's to help with trauma and support. And we actually had 2 meetings, and it went so well, they've actually have asked me to do more. So that was a success.
Okay, thank you for that. Moving on to our next questioner, it'll be Brad Gordon.
Hi, Sharon. I'm Brad Gordon.
Hi, Brad.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. I'm serving as a community consultant for the interview process. And my question is as follows. It's essentially a 2-part question. And the first part is, could you please present your plan, including priorities for the first 12 months as the Northampton Housing Authority Executive Director? I realize you're in that role on an interim basis, but this would be in the permanent role. And then the second part of the question is, as well as your vision for potential housing and program development over the next 5 years. So kind of in the immediate and then longer term.
Okay, great. Well, first, let me say I am in a different situation. I'm doing multiple jobs currently right now. But if I was put in as the executive director, which I hope I will be, I plan first to hire a finance director to take over the finance, to finally give me a chance to be a full-time only executive director, which I would love, and I have a huge vision. I plan on doing a reorg chart. I've already put together a reorganizational chart. I've already started it with hiring a director of maintenance. I'd like to have a director of public housing. I would change some of the titles that I currently have with staff that would fall into the same line to follow on the organizational chart. I really would like to hire, if possible. I mean, we're doing a dream wish here, right? We know that I won't know what my guidelines are with EHOLC until they come out in hopefully September or October. But hope to have a grant writer. Currently, I have a staff person, Danielle McHogan, and myself. We've been kind of keeping an eye on all the grants that have been coming in. We've been applying for them. We've had a huge success, but it would be great to have someone that could actually do that all the time, part-time. So I would say the first 12 months, my vision is to get it organized staff-wise. Then I have a vision for tenants alike. I've been meeting with tenants. I meet with them all the time. I was meeting with the LTOs. I would like to meet more with them. Having more than one hat makes it very difficult to get out there and my face be seen and meet with everybody. I plan to do that. If I get this job, I'll be on the properties every day. I plan to be very, very present for them. I would like all my grounds to look beautiful, trimmed. I would like the community rooms to be livable, where the tenants will enjoy to go do a puzzle, watch a TV, etc. So I have a lot of good plans for that. As far as programs is the second part of your question, I think that falls into line with trying to get a grant person. I've been very open to, we have had a meeting and we're talking to UMass to see what students can do that could help the Northampton Housing Authority with certain data that we have. So I would continue looking at programs like that we could bring in that could help. So that's another possibility of actually a staff person to work programs. I think that Danielle really loves it. She has a good vision for it as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Moving right along to Doug Kierdorf.
Hello, Miss, how do you pronounce your last name? Kimball. Yes, I believe we've met before.
We have.
My question is basically that we all know that the Northampton Housing Authority has gone through troubled times, and that there is a desperate need to turn around the culture here, and to well, just that, to turn this ship around. I'll read what's written. One advantage of your candidacy is your extensive institutional knowledge of the Northampton Housing Authority. One concern sometimes raised about internal candidates is whether they will bring enough new ideas. How would you balance continuity with innovation? And the meaning of this is, how will you change the culture of an organization that you've been in for 14 years already? That's it.
That's the question? Okay.
That's the question.
Fair enough. I have been in it for 14 years, and for probably the last 10 of them, I've been wanting to change the culture. I just don't have the authority to do that. I will if I get put in this position. And I think I've been trying to change that culture as the acting executive director. And I'll continue to do that. My staff are very positive, and working towards some good goals. I think they understand where we want to go, how we want NHA to be. A lot of, more than half of the tenants that I speak to are supportive of the changes I make and the communication I have with them. I'm not the prior administration. I'm my own person that has passion for NHA for my personal reasons. You know, I grew up poor. I didn't come from a family of wealth. I want to be there for people. I know what domestic violence is with women. I had a sister that was murdered, you know, so I'm not the prior administration. I'm me, and I plan to just bring me to the table. That's what I'm going to do. Continue doing what I want to do, and that's make it better for Northampton staff and make it better for the tenants.
Mhm. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for that. Next question is for
Oh, good.
Patty
froze.
Commissioner Nash.
Now she's unfroze. Is it me, Patty?
Oh, I know. I don't know. You can hear me now. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're.
Yes. Okay. Jim Nash, you're on.
Okay, I'm up. Okay. Hello, Sharon. So we've been asking the same questions of all the candidates. An important aspect of the executive director role is public facing. The NHA executive director interacts with the press, public officials, the board of commissioners, and residents. Could you speak to your experience and skills as a public figure?
Yeah, I think, you know, in the last 9 months, I've been building a relationship with my board. And, you know, all of us kind of collaborating together and talking on what, you know, as a team, what we kind of see Northampton as. I've also been building relationships with the, you know, police department. I've had many different events that have happened that I've had to bring in security, and I've been working with the police, and I know they're supportive of me. And I've always kind of been into politics because of being a real estate broker. It's kind of political. I know a lot of people in Northampton from the real estate community, Borowski's, Goggins, you name them. We're all very well of each other and respect one another. So I definitely understand politics. And I have no problem going out and meeting and greeting the ones that I haven't met.
Mhm.
I'm not shy to it, I guess.
Okay. Thank you for that. Next question is from Commissioner Joella Tarbutton Springfield.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi.
Kimberly. Yeah, hi. One of you must know, and everyone here realizing that this there's a lot. The search has generated substantial interest, residents, community, and so I guess my question in interviewing with residents and stuff, and because some of the questions you've already answered that I had generated, but how do you make residents realize that you are not part of the other? Well, you were part of the other. I don't want to say regime administration, but what differentiates you from that? I can say one thing myself is that it's the first time we started meeting weekly. I'm a resident board commissioner. That didn't happen before. I mean, it started with give credit interim Mainville, and then you just allowed for the same thing. But there are so many people who see you, and I don't know, and maybe connect you with the previous one. So please let us know. I know you're not, but let people know who don't know.
I feel like, as you said, I've been meeting with you weekly. We haven't in a little bit, but we have. I know.
I'm a little sick.
I know, and I'm sorry to hear that. And I miss you. We were used to getting together doing agendas. But I've met with a lot of tenants. I have not had a chance to meet with a lot of them, but I have met with a lot of them. And I truly believe the ones that have met with me that have said, "Hey, Sharon, this and this," or they tell me their concerns. And if I can fix it, I have fixed it for them. And if I couldn't, I was honest about it. Transparency was there. I didn't try to say that I was going to do something and then ignore it and didn't do it. So that's where I guess I'm different. I'm not going to say I can do something if I can't. If I can, I'll do it right away. If it's going to take me some time or I need to look into it, it's a possibility. I'll work really hard to make it happen. But if it's something that's completely out of my control, I will be honest and say this isn't possible that I see right now, at least not in the months. So I think in time, all the tenants will see that I'm not the prior, that I'm myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Thank you again for that. The next question will be from Commissioner Ben Wood.
Yeah, thanks, Patty, and hi, Sharon.
Hi, Ben.
So you started your answer to Hank's question with talking a little bit about what I was going to ask about, which is around workplace culture and team building, and how you needed to start out by really trying to bring folks together after a time of turmoil. But I'd like you maybe just to dive into that a little bit more. Like, what are the ways in which you do team building? What are some of the approaches you have for trying to create a positive workplace culture? And also maybe what are some ways that you can bring us as a board into that process so we have an understanding of what it is you're trying to do, where the successes are, where the challenges continue to be?
Okay, so I think, did someone say something? Oh, okay. I thought I heard something. Once I was able to actually, or at least for me to feel that it was stabilizing somewhat, like at least 50%, and then I got the director of maintenance in, my next plan was to get the property managers, my director of maintenance, and myself to meet every morning and discuss our day, because all of us are connected. Property managers are the first there, hearing what tenants are saying, but my maintenance team is out there as well. So every morning, without fail, and even if I had gone to an event with my sister for Friday, I told the staff, please still show up at 8:30. So every morning at 8:30, we have been meeting, and it's awesome. We brainstorm, we come up with tons of stuff. Everybody is on the same page. If something needs to be done, the director of maintenance is aware of it. He'll write it down and say, yes, I'm on it. I got it. I'm going to send so-and-so. So communication, it starts right there in the morning with a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll continue that. I think it's very, very important. And I would say that's my most success so far that I've been able to do. And I actually have a really good one that we're about to do because I believe in collaboration. We have a creative grant that is very complex that Danielle and I have been working on. Danielle, more so, I'm going to give her credit than me. She's gone to the class. So she's learned about it. She's looked through the application process. It's very complex. And her and I were just talking about it. And she says, I don't know, Sharon. I just don't know if I can do this by myself. And I said, you know what? Maybe it's a good idea for all of us, you, me, the director of maintenance, all the property managers get together at the table, and we're going to just put a day and we're just going to brainstorm what are some of the things that we could do at all these properties. But first, we're going to meet with the tenants, we're meeting Wednesday. We're going to meet with them Tuesday, Wednesday to go over annual plan, but then to tell them about this creative grant that we hopefully will get. And to let you know, the complexity of the grant is we have to answer a question. What do we want that will be permanent at the site that we want to put it? And then how will we maintain it?
Mm-hmm.
So we put that question out there. So, just to give you an idea, I don't want to ruin the fun, but one of the brainstorms was, what about at one of the sites we do a mural in the staircase wall?
Mm-hmm.
Because that could be permanent,
Mm-hmm.
and we maintain it. So those are kind of things, I guess, for me that I believe in and what I'm practicing right now as the acting executive director is collaboration.
Thank that. Just real quick, that's the creative placemaking grant that's from EOHLC right now.
Yes,
Yeah.
that they extended.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
so
great.
we'll
I'm glad we're looking at that. That's really exciting.
Yes, we are. We'll be bringing it to the board on Monday because we have the deadline. I think it's the 16th. I could be wrong. Danielle's probably watching, and I'm hoping I'm right. But yes, we're on it.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
I have a couple of questions from residents. We met with residents across the whole Northampton Housing Authority, and people gave us some questions. Some I had to kind of consolidate. So I have a couple of them, and the first one is, what is your experience in addressing the serious security issues faced by tenants in their residences?
I'm currently working on that secure, but I know other properties need it. I know tenants, if you're out there listening, I know other properties need it. And you got to be patient that I can look at budget. I have a new budget coming up in July, and I'm going to, be getting with my fee accountants to find out what can I add to the 4190 account for the state to be able to have policing or security at other sites other than right now I have McDonald and Salvo. So I am working on that. It's very important to me. When I had a tenant tell me, when I had a meeting with all the tenants at McDonald, and because of what had happened in the incident, and I had a tenant tell me that she was coming home one night after groceries, and she's in the elevator with a bag of groceries, and some guy walks in that's not a tenant, and he has sunglasses on, and he's very intimidating, and basically, telling her how would she like it if he took the groceries. I'm going to be honest, it made me sick, made me sad. So I'm working on it. I'm going to do the best I can with it. I only have so much money as state and federal will give me, but it's definitely a priority of mine.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for that. Another question is, how will you foster input and inclusion of all tenant constituencies, including Section 8 and federal tenants?
I don't feel that I guess I need to understand more what you're asking me. I mean, you've got, for me, when you say federal and state, they are separate because for me, funding is separate. Everything is separate. My financials have federal. I have state. I have a budget for my state. I have a budget for my federal. So their funding and their capital improvement is different than the state. So I need to understand what you're asking me.
Yeah, I guess when we met with some family tenants, Section 8, it was just that feeling. It was a small group, and at Hamp Heights, they don't have a community room. They have a very small one, but they just said, oh, we feel left out here, which I don't really know if they're treated any differently, but that's where the question came from.
Oh, you mean our family units? I thought you said Section 8. Section
Oh,
8 vouchers.
I say,
You-
oh
was
yeah, I
so-
did say Section 8 in federal. Yeah, you're right. I was
Okay.
thinking of
Yeah,
otherwise.
Section 8 are vouchers. We don't have we don't
Yeah.
have, we don't own those apartments. Um, as far as my family sites, my federal family sites and my Hampshire family sites, I mean, we as a team, as far as like Danielle, my RSC, she, we do pretty much across the board almost the same for families with lunches, with get together in the summer, different, for, in October, we usually get pumpkins and we do face color. And we do that at both of those sites.
Mhm.
I feel that we try to be very equal to both of those sites.
Okay.
Well, I'm sad that if someone feels that way. I don't know that that's majority though.
Well, I just, we asked for questions. These are the ones I'm trying to cover all of them.
Okay.
Joella does have her hand up. Anyone for Joella? ABC's here. Hank, Doug, anybody have a question before I move to Joella? I'm just going through the order, alphabetical order. No, Joella, it's yours. Take it away.
What? Okay. We live in this great town, very progressive in many ways. And one of the things that I've noticed now that I've noticed before, but one of the things that I've had to struggle with in this town, because part of us is with our stakeholders, that's our residents, that's our community, and our administrative board. But one of the things that's really important is the use of pronouns. And so I've been hearing a lot of, my board, which I used to hear before, and that made me nervous because then it's like, who's here, who's that, and I just know that I'm still all the time. I'm like he, they, thou. I'm so confused most of the time. So that's something that I'm working on. But I just think that that's the stuff that I noticed, and that could easily be, corrected because I'm dealing with that all the time. But sometimes I'm thinking we are in a town where things like that are very important. And so, anyway, that's the one thing that I just wanted to say. And it's not a criticism because I'm still working on such things myself.
Always a work in progress, right?
Right, right. Um, so you have a few minutes left. Uh, I would like you to make a statement about why you would like to have this job. A closing statement would be helpful.
Okay. Well, first I want to say thank you to the board. Thank you to the tenants and for this process to give me this opportunity to sit here and talk to all of you. I do really want this job. I'm very passionate about it. I've been with Northampton for 14 years and I love working with Northampton Housing, but I also love working as the executive director because I'm allowed to do some of the things that I feel is important for tenants, for the community. And this would give me an opportunity to be able to do that. I'm already doing it. I think I've been proven. I'm doing successful things, and I would like to continue it. So
Okay,
thank you.
great. Anyone else? All good. Thank you, Sharon Kimball. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Sharon.
Maybe we'll have a Zoom meeting soon. Okay, if I can't be there in person, how about that?
So for the rest of the committee, I just want to remind you that between now and Thursday, when we have deliberations, that to abide by the open meeting law restrictions, deliberation discussion between several of us at one time would violate the open meeting law. And that's written or electronic. You can offer information, but cannot actually have the express opinions in a group about the various candidates. It must be all done in a public space, which we'll be doing tomorrow morning. We will post for the next meeting, and we'll move forward with that. I especially would like to thank the members who are not part of our commission, both Doug Kierdorf and Brad Gordon, who put a lot of time into this process of looking at all the resumes, doing the screening, the eventual screening interviews, and getting to this point. And I really appreciate that you put all your personal time into doing this with us. So we are ready to adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much. And Jim, you can proceed to set us out.
Well, let's I'd like to hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Madam Chair, your meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Everybody.
Great questions, guys. Thank you. Thank you for your hard work, Patty. And Jim, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.